This computer. So here we go, and we are not live. We're Memorex, and this is David Bryan. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Has ended as we know it, and Facebook is down. Does that ever happen? StreamYard is down too, so we're actually recording on Zoom. So how did they avoid the? Oh, you said it was.
Yeah, it was censorship karma. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, not to take any political stance on that whatsoever. It's just I just thought it was a humorous kind of thing. But
oh no, me too.
there's a lot of people that depend on Facebook and Instagram for their businesses and so forth, and so it's definitely not something we wish on anybody, but it's interesting to see that all the things that we're dependent on and we expect to just work, and sometimes they don't. So,
right. Yeah, and you know what's funny is I'm in direct sales. I don't know if you know that part. So I have a lead.
Avon or
yes.
Okay. Yes.
Avon for almost 40 years. I must have been obviously a wee child when I signed up.
Yeah.
Right, since I'm not that old now.
Like April Sprints, right? Didn't she do it at a very early age?
Who's that?
Oh, April.
Yes, yeah. April did it in high school, but she was not doing it under her own name because, of course, that wouldn't be allowed. But
right.
But no, I signed up when I was 18. But in our business, it's funny. We have a big turnover. No matter how good we are, we have a big turnover, and the younger ones, I keep having to stress. Don't just rely on Facebook. Don't just rely on Instagram. There's actually people that'll buy stuff out in the actual world.
Yeah.
And they all look at me like I'm a dinosaur, but it's like, you got to mesh the two, I think.
I agree.
So.
I agree. I 100% agree with you, Lisa. It's a, in the technology business that I'm in, with construction technology and supply chain technology with trucking companies and construction workers, and, they like their pen and paper, that yellow notepad and a pen, and getting them to go away from that to a phone or to a laptop is not easy to do. And
well, the average age is probably up or no, the average age, yeah. That's not helping.
Yeah, and that's you realize that it actually, even to the studies of people talking about when you're journaling, how much more effective it is psychologically to actually, you take a pen and put a pen to a paper and write things down, where if I say that to my 21-year-old son, 20-year-old daughter, or 10-year-old daughter, they'd be like, what? Like, really? So they're just so dependent on their devices. And so I think that also says something about the nature of how we've lost the heart in business so much, of just learning to communicate face to face with each other like we are now. And even if it's through a computer, we're still taking the initiative to engage and look each other in the eye and connect. And, I would imagine that that's a huge part of your business. Is that right?
Well, it's actually a mix now, because I'm a little bit more prepared than most because I live in rural New Hampshire. And I intentionally
New Hampshire, by the way, the White Mountains.
Where it's not much different from North Carolina, except it's like Alaska as far as the weather.
It's colder. It's colder.
Yeah, more snow that doesn't go away usually. But
one of the best summers of my life was spent in Waterville, Maine, and we would
skiing. Must be. You must be. Well,
it was the summer, and so we were on a lake, in an island in the middle of a lake, no running water, no electricity, and the most peaceful summer of my life. and with a bunch of kids,
Oh,
and it was awesome. And we take kids hiking in the White Mountains of New Hampshire.
it's
So
beautiful up here. And I'm single with a kid, uh, and actually adopted from birth. But
wow.
there's no better place to raise a kid than here.
I
Thing.
can see that.
Yeah, it's not. But as far as business goes, when I decided to, well, I didn't decide. This was foisted upon me, the full-time Avon thing. I was a secretary and got
Yeah.
laid off in a recession. And this area doesn't have that many people, though. I mean, yeah, there's no way that I'm going to compete on a national level if I just stayed here. So
Mhm.
I tried as soon as technology was available, I was all over it because I needed to have a team of sales representatives nationwide if I had any hope. I
Hmm.
felt. So it's funny that you mentioned about, by the way, my head is still going, because you have three kids.
Yeah.
I have one. I'm in over my head. I have one.
Yeah.
How do you do three? This is,
It's, you know, I didn't do it well.
oh,
I will honestly say that. I part of the mission of what I'm about is um for the last 8 years of my life, January 1st, 2014, I quit my six-figure sales job as head of national accounts for a building products manufacturer, and had done very well and was still continuing to do well. And I just realized I saw so many people suffering in the construction industry and in business as a whole, for we don't get what we expect out of the exchange of value. We go do a contract with someone and then they don't fulfill their side of it. And I was just as guilty of that in certain ways. And it oftentimes wasn't because I was trying to do the wrong thing. I just didn't execute because I wasn't efficient, or I didn't follow through, or I didn't have the right systems, or someone I was depending on to do the work didn't follow through on stuff. So in the construction industry, inefficiency is an understatement, I say. And the amount of conflict and contention that takes place in the industry, and distrust, overwhelms individuals and overwhelms people. And the stress, when we bring that stress home to our families,
oh, yeah.
it can create massive strife in the family and hurts relationship. And then on top of that, if the inefficiency of payments in the construction industry, 67% of construction workers in the United States alone lose an average of 15% of their annual wages due to non-payment.
Whoa.
The workers,
Whoa.
newsflash, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
people don't know that. They don't talk about it. It's called wage theft.
Yeah.
And yet what happens is, when I was like, I need to fight against this. I need to, be an activist about it. And I have a love for that. I have dear friends that are leading activists in the United States and around the world in this space. Yet I realized I needed to create a system to where everybody won, from the banks to the owners of $100 million construction project, to the general contractors, to the subcontractors, to the workers, to the building supply companies. We're all people, and we have families, and we're just trying to get home to our family at 5:30 in the afternoon, have dinner with a family member, or spend time with your family, or go to a soccer game or a football game. And I missed a lot of those due to the inefficiencies in the industry. And me, honestly, a lot of times just thinking I needed to overwork. And it's been a pattern in my life because I'm very mission driven and passionate. Yet, if we can learn to be efficient in how we do business, then it can truly transform our lives.
So
And
that
that's
triggered your whole technology thing. Wow. That's kind of awesome. That I know what you mean about I have this is a running joke about the man village, and I'm pretty sure the construction industry is like man village planet central, right?
it is.
Right, right. You do know, as women, we didn't know most of that stuff was going on. The whole man village rule book, the whole thing, we didn't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Did
So
did
explain the man village.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. No, I call it that because I was so shocked to find out what made me find out. Remember, in the Minneapolis airport, a senator lost his career and his family because he tapped his shoe on the floor. He didn't
Mm.
say anything, and they arrested him for soliciting. And he was in the newspaper. They had a sting operation in the men's room at the airport. He lost his career and everything. And he was an old man because
Yeah.
of soliciting. Well, just let me tell you, in the women's room, we don't care. If an old lady took up a 20 and said, I need someone to do me,
Yeah.
giggle and leave. We wouldn't like ruin her career or have a sting operation. We'd probably giggle and say, oh, honey, that's cute. We don't take it as seriously as you guys evidently. But he just tapped his shoe. He didn't speak. And he got his life ruined. So that made me wonder, what the heck? And then I was asking one of my friends who is real macho guy, and he
Yeah.
says, you can't talk in the men's room. There's a rule about that.
Yeah.
And then I got to looking around and talking to other guys, and I found out a whole bunch of rules. Like no two men can ride on a motorcycle together.
Yeah. I could see that.
There's a whole bunch of them, but we had no idea. Most women don't know. And I don't know if you were aware of it, or whether that's just in the culture so much. Most men aren't even aware of it.
Yeah, it's for me, I think that's a really good perspective. It's interesting. We as men have so many
Hang-ups?
unspoken
Sorry.
rules that we have, and you know, and I go back to, I'll give you an example. I'll go back to the construction industry, and I always joke around in a joking kind of way that the men that are running the construction companies or the subcontractor companies a lot of times were like the high school football players. They were the cool kids in school, kind of, and they kind of made fun of the dorks or whatever. And now they're and there's still this culture, and truly a culture, in my personal observation, of just this bullying kind of, I'm bigger and badder than you, and I'm tough, and this and that. And I'm like, do you really want to treat people like that? I mean, is that really how you want to go around each
It's not
day?
even profitable.
It's
I
not
don't,
profitable.
no. Yeah, I don't. And most, the why it's funny to me and some other women, I guess, is there's not evidently a lot of deviating from the rules. So
Yeah.
like I had a guy doing a motorcycle thing around the country raising money on a Harley. He came here. And one of
Yeah.
my friends happens to be a blind guy, a man. And
Yeah.
he said, boy, what I wouldn't give to have a ride on the motorcycle. I said, God, you're in luck. He's been giving people rides all morning long. I didn't realize he wasn't giving people rides. He was giving women rides.
Okay. Yeah.
And they both didn't look at each other and have a conversation. They looked at me and went,
Yeah.
And I'm like, doesn't he get a pass because he's like a blind guy?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they wouldn't do it. And that, can you imagine giving up an experience like that just for
Yeah.
what?
Because of the, yeah.
Well, was
I mean,
somebody
at
going
least
to?
you could have put a wig on the guy with the long hairs. I mean, come on, give the blind guy a ride on a motorcycle.
I mean, who's going to see him? The other three people that live in New Hampshire?
Yeah,
There's no one here.
yeah,
Maybe he
yeah.
was afraid we take a picture. Yeah, that must be a hard industry to crack into for you too. If they're like bullying and you're trying to get them to use tech.
Well, that's one of the reasons I have, um, I guess, energetically connected so much to Bob Berg and the Go Giver. And when I read that book a few years ago, I was like, this is the book that explains the way I have wanted to be in business and have been in business at many times in my life. And then it hardened me. And I realized when I got into the investment space of got to be at Harvard Business School with my co-founder of the tech company who was at Goldman Sachs and Carlyle Group and these big investment firms. And then I got a swift, education on how the investment world works. And when we started getting investors and so forth, one of the sharks on Shark Tank invested in our company, and not, we didn't go on Shark Tank, but that was kind of a whole other story how that happened. But there are these unspoken rules of business, and actually a friend of mine from Harvard Business School just wrote a book called The Unspoken Rules. And the unspoken rules are more about when high school, college kids are they're getting ready to enter the workforce. What are those unspoken rules of business that aren't taught in school that you need to know about life and about business? And I feel like Bob Berg in the book, The Go Giver, and Bob's book, The Adversaries into Allies, I'm really excited about helping Bob and his team, Kathy and Matthew and others, and all of us really inspire and pull forward this movement, the Go Giver movement, of what does it mean to really be a go giver? And when you're going out in business and you're seeking first to get, what can I get out of this? It's all in it. What's in it for me, right? If you're immediately thinking, what's in it for me, right? We're already in conflict there. And so, but if two people are sitting there saying, I want to add value to you, I want to create value for each of us. And then we come together and we say, is that interesting to you? Yes. Is that interesting to you? Yes. And then we do a value exchange. We exchange value. And if we do it with that go giver seeking to give, and how do I impact you? How do I maximize value and over deliver value for you? Imagine what could happen in business if we just approach things like that. And I would assume that that's what's made you so successful in Avon throughout all the years, is you are a go-giver, Lisa. I mean, you embody it. You are seeking to, I would imagine that when you're creating a sales force, you're speaking with them and building in, as Bob and Kathy with the Go Giver talk about, an authentic relationship with each one of those individuals. And you have their best interest at heart of, I want to help make you successful. I want to help you provide for you and your family while teaching you how to go add value to your clients' lives. Am I right in that?
Yeah, yes. You'd be surprised though how I'm still ending up teaching the Go Giver values to my army of representatives, because the first thing people, like when I say you should join your local chamber, the first thing they say is, what's in it for me? And I said, no, you join the chamber for what you can bring to the chamber, and you end up getting business. It's not you go in there saying, hey, I'm what am I getting out of this, because it won't work. That doesn't work. And I'm surprised, because you would think our business was based on giving to start with, or providing value to start with. And it's surprising how few people realize that they are looking for they get too much looking for the ROI on everything. You know what I mean? Up front, they're looking for up front.
And it's
So,
one thing to know, okay, to set, as Bob talks about, set the frame, right? It's to understand, what are we dealing with here, right? Like, what do you do? What is the value you're bringing to this? Help me understand more about you. And I first want to know now, not really what does someone do every day. Just yesterday, I was on a Clubhouse call and they asked me, Clubhouse is an app, an audio app for anybody that doesn't know. Yeah. And there's a bunch, there's like a stage and then there's an audience, right? And so I was on stage and there was over 100 people in the room from around the world. And it was a female founder pitch practice. And a friend of mine is the founder of that. And she was a very successful entrepreneur, tech entrepreneur, and sold her company and now invests in other startups, and was in that room. And I realized in that moment, I was like, what am I going to say? Because I kind of say different things depending upon the audience and so forth. And I just started with, what am I passionate about? What matters to me? Like, that's what I really want to know. Like, who are you? Tell me about you. What's one thing that you're passionate about? My friend Brendan Kumarasamy, who has he's a public speaking coach, and has over.
I saw you had him on. Yeah,
yeah, he was on Idea to
He's
Impact.
a young guy though.
25 years old.
Yeah.
Is one of the most well-read and brilliant. I think he's a prodigy. Like, I literally think the guy is a prodigy and absolute brilliance, and speaks with such certainty and confidence. And I had to hire him. I wanted to hire him, so I hired him as a speech coach, and he's helped me immensely because I wanted to effectively communicate. I wanted to be able to get my message across. And for me, there is the opportunity that we all have is to share what lights us up. This is what I'm about. Like, my personal mission in life, why I do what I do, is to end financial suffering in business and to improve the quality of life for all of us involved in the exchange of value. That addresses our mental health, how we communicate with each other, how we transact business with each other, and how efficient we are in what we do. Because whenever we're not efficient or problems come up, that creates stress, that creates anxiety. And when we're bringing that home every day to our beautiful little children that are growing up, they're saying, oh, I guess mom and dad, I guess what it means to be an adult is to be stressed out and anxious all the time. Is that what we're teaching our kids? I believe our kids deserve better. We deserve better. So everything that I do is in what I call soul alignment with that. It's all in alignment with that. And so I express my mission in all these different ways that can then help further that mission to the most amount of people possible in the world. And Idea to Impact show that we do on Wednesday, where we interview different entrepreneurs, is an expression of that. How do you take your ideas to impact that makes social impact? As you wrote earlier, it's on the ad for this thing. I loved what you put together. It was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I felt so special, so seen.
That's what the point was. I want the guest, when they see that, to know how much I tried to get your color theme right. Did I get even. You looked, your website had a lot of blue and white, and I thought that was probably your favorites.
Yeah,
Did I
those
get
dark blues and purples of trust, and I'm wearing blue again today. And
And I
it,
like the people, planet, profit. It made me think of Marcus Lemonis, but because he has the three P's, but yours are different. I like that too. That was awesome.
well, it's not something specific to me. It's actually this whole new industry of business that it started off with the Ben and Jerry's of the world, the Vermont. I think they're from Vermont,
Yeah, they are.
right? And they're just hilarious and very unique individuals that have been very successful. Yet they're what they call a triple bottom line company, which now there's actually a legal structure for it. So where you can create a legal structure called a public benefit corporation,
Whoa.
where it's a triple bottom line, and meaning you have an investor mandate. So typically the old way, or the traditional, I should say, way of doing business is maximization of shareholder value, profit only, right? Business is about profit. Well, that didn't align with me because I'm like, business is really to me about how do I add value to people? How do I improve the quality of their life? Right. And so if business is just about profit and our focus is just on the money, right? Then I think we're missing the holistic view of what business is really about. And so now companies, big investment companies like BlackRock, right, are taking notice of this, that it's actually good business to do good. And what they mean by that is this mandate. They've now mandated for all of their companies within their that they've invested in, you better have a triple bottom line impact focus in the coming years, or it's not going to be in alignment with who we are as an investment company, BlackRock, who I think today is the largest investment company in the world. And so what that means is people, how are you impacting and improving the quality of life of people? Or are you taking away from people? Then you have, and there's a whole certification program called the B Corp as well for that. And then you have planet. Are you depleting the Earth's resources continually? Are you seeking to enhance the planet, to reduce waste, right? How are you helping the planet and environmental sustainability? And then lastly, profit. But they're not one in really order in any way necessarily. I tend to think of it that way personally, is my first focus is how am I impacting people when I build this business? Who is impacted? Who are the stakeholders that are impacted by this business that I'm creating or that I'm getting involved with? So I have to believe in it, right? So that goes into sales and Go Giver and all that. And I have to believe in it. And then how is it impacting the planet by what I'm doing? And then lastly, is it profitable? That's my process personally, is that I like to look at it. But some people say profit, people, planet. Some people say profit, planet, people. Like I don't think, but for me, that's the process that I use when I'm creating or designing businesses.
Well, and Bob says there's nothing wrong with being profitable. It is part of the deal. Right. And besides, you can do a lot more good with money than you can without money.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just good to include, right, as a whole, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's in the beauty when you get excited about profit, is some people say profit is energy, money is energy, right? And so it's just an exchange of energy. Guess what? As Bob talks about the giving and the receiving, right? And then the 5 laws of stratospheric success and the Go Giver and the law of receptivity. Well, it's just like breathing. I breathe out and I give. I breathe in and I receive. If I fail to breathe in, I die.
Right. Right.
That's
And breathing in includes the profits.
That includes the profits, because if you're running a business that isn't profitable, it's not going to be in business for very long,
No.
right? So money truly is a key part of sustainability, right? And understanding the metrics around what makes your business successful, right? What does profit mean, right? It means I've got enough left over to buy some stuff, right? Or to spend, or to invest, or to give, right? And the more profit we make, the more we'll be able to give. But here's the challenge of here's the new way that has really come about in the last 20 years is this. Are you profiting in a way that is hurting people or hurting the planet through your profits? And that can be very subjective sometimes, right? And so some people would call it, well, how every business so I'll give you an example. Every business, somebody would say every business is a social enterprise. Profit, people, planet. Why? Because you're giving people jobs, right? Okay. You're helping them provide for their family. So I would challenge that and say, if you're making massive amounts of profits, right? But your people are suffering to be able to pay their bills. A good friend of mine, his father started one of the top 5 trucking companies in America. He then founded one of the most successful tech companies in the last 5 years that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars now. Okay. He had one of his employees come to him and say, I had to take on a second job just to make my bills.
Oh, yikes.
And immediately he realized, I've got to do something about that. If I'm running and operating a business where people literally can't even pay their bills, but due to inflation or whatever it is, or maybe they have a lot of kids and they have a lot of child support or whatever it is, right? But if that's what we're doing and we're hurting the people and then we're making these massive profits, are we really doing good in the world? Or if we're profiting massively and we're destroying the earth and what we're doing, is that sustainable long term? And is that good business? So what if you could do all 3, right? What if you could have all 3 of them? And that's where Bob really takes with the Go-Givers about people, right? And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I believe it's a message that isn't really as much political of, well, this is left wing, or this is this, or this is very democratic or socialist or whatever. People think that the triple bottom line model is socialist. It is not a socialist model because it still has profit in it.
Right.
Right? They call it conscious capitalism, or there's different words for it. So I just believe that there is a better way to do business. And we all are responsible in how we conduct business with other people.
You know what? I don't know if it's a guy thing, girl thing, but you would be surprised when I interview people to sign up to be a representative. Mm-hmm. They actually try to convince me why they don't care about the money. Mm. It's the opposite of what a guy would do, in my opinion. I had somebody say to me, the only reason she wanted to do this was so she could open a woman's shelter. And I said, don't you think the women that would use that shelter would appreciate that much more if you actually had money to build it with?
And then what if you taught them how to make money?
Yes.
What if you taught them how to go?
Yeah. So
that's
make
money doing what you're doing.
The opposite of that is some people are so anti-profit that they don't realize profit is part of the picture. You can do a lot of things with money that you can't do without money.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's yeah. Do you mind if I share with you my big thing? My big thing is personal responsibility. The older I get, the worse this ends up being. I have colleagues. I don't know if it's because we're female, but a lot of my colleagues are doing this business playing around because they believe they'll never have to support themselves. And statistics are not in their favor. Most of us, I mean, like 90% of us are going to have to support ourselves at some point.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more the men seem to die earlier than the women, and the women have to support themselves. So many of my colleagues were not prepared for that. They immediately have to sell their house or immediately have to change their life because they weren't earning enough in their business to support themselves. And so I'm on that I'm on that soapbox so much because I'm surprised they have a vehicle to do it. And most of them are not taking it seriously enough as a business because they don't realize the implications when you have to support yourself.
Yeah. Think about the social impact of that, though. Like the impact on people's lives to a single mother who is working a job 9 to 5, then maybe has to go to a second job, right? And just to make ends meet, and someone else is having to raise their child or in daycare or whatever it is, right? And then you come along with a solution that says, hey, this is true. Here's the difference. There are people, I was in direct sales, some in network marketing and all that in the early, when I was in my 20s. And I personally wasn't successful at it, just personally for me. And it's okay. Sweet dogs. Love dogs. What if you had, there are so many people in that industry that have given it a bad name. And they see everybody as a target, everybody is an opportunity, right? And everybody is a potential sale and all this kind of stuff. But here's the reason why they get that bad energy is because every single person they're looking at you as, you can give me something. There's something you can give to me. You're a prospect, and you can write me a check and you can pay me, as opposed to, and that's honestly the reason I wasn't successful, is because I was trained by those people to do that. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I don't remember ever being trained in I've had tons of sales training. Most of it was manipulative and how do I get them to hook them into my way of thinking and buy from me and all this stuff. And then I'm going to guide you. And then all of a sudden you get done with the sale and you're like, oh, I feel like I need to take a shower. Right? Whereas what if you're teaching people the keys to success? The 5 laws of stratospheric success with the go-giver is, it's actually about giving. This gives you an opportunity to give And if you learn these skills, you can take these skills, not just with selling Avon products, but to any other thing you do, all your relationships, everything in your life. It is life skills training. And you may have not have had those life skills training in your life before today, but you do now. You've got the opportunity now because you get to work with a woman like you who is a go-giver and is going to give them those life skills training. To me, that is more valuable than the actual product you're even selling. Am I right?
Yeah, and you know what I like is the whole idea of you got to let go of the outcome of it.
Yes.
I've taken heat my entire career because I did seminars and stuff for non-downline. The vast majority of leaders in my company anyway stick right to their own people. But to me, it was always a karma thing. If I put enough out into the universe, I didn't care. And it does end up, it is good for business because like lately I had somebody come back and join me a year and something ago. I met her 20 years ago at a seminar I did in Michigan where they brought me in to speak. And she said, when I decided to come back this time, I hunted you down. So it did come back. It's not like I was just out there being a good person. It was good business to just help anybody that wants help. To me, that makes more sense. And it makes sense on a business level, not just on a nice person level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a business strategy, helping anybody just makes sense, I think.
And it's
Oh, now we got the cat too.
oh, hey, kitty.
I live in a zoo over here.
I love it. I love it. I love animals. You know, Bob Berg loves animals. Like he's a big animal.
Yeah. And matter of fact, what the dog's barking at is because even though we have 5 cats on my property here, I have a pest problem, and the pest guy is here because the cats were obviously little bums.
Yeah, they didn't do their job. Get rid of the pests.
So, no, what were you going to say about Bob? Bob,
Bob, he just embodies this whole thing about, you know, of what it truly means to be a go-giver. And when I look at the book, The Go-Giver, I think about Pindar. And I study Pindar a lot in that book because I read the book all the time, right? Like many times I've read it. And I study Pindar. And the way that Pindar gives isn't just openly and freely to anyone and everyone. He's very clear on his boundaries of, I am willing to give this, right? I'm wanting to help you. Here's what you're going to need to do in order to fully receive it. Because if you don't follow what it is I'm recommending, then our time together, what does he say? Our time together will come to an
end. Yeah, I like the way you said that too.
Our time together will come to an end. And there are individuals that you come across in life that aren't ready to receive. They're not ready to take the value that you're giving. Now here's the beauty of it, to your point. I am sure they keep you on your toes, right? So
I wasn't a dog person until last year. I'm
I love dogs. I love how I love how protective they are and how loving they
But
are.
he's
Right.
growling, but what he really wants to do is the pest guy to pet him. That's what he went, yeah, if we had a friendly burglar, I'm screwed.
No worries. And when I think, I was thinking about the Pindar, like about Pindar, I believe that there is strategy and, in a sense, to where we're giving. Are you there? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but we got 10 minutes and I'm gonna do I'm sorry about the noise. He'll go in the office, I think.
No
He wants to
worries.
go downstairs. Yes, okay.
No worries. No worries.
When you think about the go-giver, do you think about I want to be like the connector. That is my thing. I don't necessarily want to be Pindar, but I don't know why. I don't know why. When I read about the description of the connector, I went, that's what I want to be. That's what I want people to feel about me, is that I can connect them and bring value that way. How do you feel about that when you read that? Is there somebody that you
Definitely, I definitely connect most with the connector.
Oh, okay.
That is my ninja skills. That is my area of mastery, I guess. Is I love connecting people. Yet, because I've been doing it for most of my life, my father was a minister growing up, and so yeah, and he loved to connect, and he was very, uh, he was a very energetic individual, and people attracted to him and so forth. And yeah, I always wanted, like, I loved connecting people, and it came naturally to me. Yet, what I realized is I started to connect people that didn't necessarily want to be connected, or they weren't really I was so eager to connect someone, I invested a lot of time without knowing whether or not it was actually really going to impact their lives by the connection that I made for them. So what I've started to do in making connections for people is asking them, what is it that what are your needs? What are pains that you have, or needs that you have, or people you're trying to connect with? And I really try to get to the bottom of that a bit. Just even yesterday is an example, and I have to follow up on that today. Is I was in that clubhouse room, and a woman came on, and she was sharing her presentation about, she's starting a cannabis facility in Detroit, Michigan, and she wants a lot of the profits to go towards helping the community and helping support the community in Detroit. And so immediately what happens is these synapses start happening in my brain. I'm start connecting dots. Okay. And I'm thinking, my co-founder of my tech company, original co-founder, the one that was at Goldman Sachs and then Harvard Business School and all that, he's from Cleveland, Ohio. He now lives in Detroit. He is he funded, he's now has another startup that's had raised over $1 million in Detroit, Michigan. He's all about the community, and he's very knowledgeable about startups and fundraising and technology, which is what she was trying to do. So I was sitting there in that moment, but I could have just said, oh, let me connect you with him, right? But first I stepped back and I was like, so let me understand. This is what I heard. And then I repeated back some things that I heard. You're very passionate about making an impact in your community. Is that correct? She said, yes. I said, you're trying to raise money. Is that correct? Yes. Your skill set really isn't in fundraising. Is that correct? Yes. And you have something really valuable in the cannabis space, correct? He also invested in a cannabis startup 6 years ago that has become now successful. And so he has knowledge in that area too. And he lives in Detroit and all these. So there are all these connections, right? And I said, and then I explained to her in front of everybody on the stage, over 100 people, and said, would that connection be meaningful to you if I made that connection? And she's like, absolutely. I said, I will do it for you.
So now you find it better to make sure that you know what they're looking for by restating what they said.
Yes.
And before just jumping into the connection. That
You're
makes sense.
spending your time. You only have so much energy to give.
Right. Right. No, that makes total sense. I hope the people listening today realize that the reason I wanted you to come on is because you have such great information for anybody. Because I'm sure there's like this in every industry, people end up learning just from the people in their own company or their own industry. And most of the good ideas that I've stolen from other people didn't come from inside our industry. They came from talking with people like you. So I really appreciate all that you've shared. Let me ask you, how can we benefit you? How, in Clubhouse, or do you have a passion project that we could all help you with?
Oh yeah. So, well, I have lots of passion projects. I dabble in a lot of things, and a few things. One is have a nonprofit organization that I support and am very involved with, both in the operations of it as well as just support and promotions and so forth. Is called the Veterans Connection. And the Veterans Connection is all about improving the quality of life for our veterans in the areas we've defined 4 pillars that are kind of start with one or they build upon each other as well. And one is connection. We all need to be able to connect. In the last year with the pandemic, we've all gotten disconnected in a lot of ways. We're not giving each other hugs as much as we used to. And so many people are starving for just physical touch and a hug. And so making connection for the veterans is a big thing, because when they're in the military, they're super connected, right? They're around all day, every day. So we need to recreate that brotherhood, sisterhood kind of thing. And then second is empowerment, which is really about meeting the basic needs: food, water, shelter, safety, sanitation, housing, employment, helping veterans get access to their benefits. Then Thrive, we're Align and Heal, which is really dealing with holistic approaches to healing, in addition to, not in exchange of, pharmaceuticals. And so that becomes more, there's other areas, because the veteran suicide rate in the United States alone with the US military and veterans has risen from 22 per day to 27 per day in the last year alone, year and a half. And
that's shocking.
So it is painful to see. And then last is Thrive, which is about, once you get people connected, help them meet their basic needs, and they're not in fight or flight constantly, right? Now you can really address here and heal the wounds and the PTSD and the heartbroken of seeing so much death, perhaps, and so forth, and the guilt and so forth that may come with having shot someone or killed someone in battle or whatever that may be. And we can begin to heal from that. And then once you begin to get some stability and healing there, what happens? You realize, I want to give. I want to give to others. And so now you get into thrive mode. Now you can go help others. You can get a house loan, provide for your family, create a business that creates profit and impacts people and the planet and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's really a system we've designed. So that's something we're really passionate. That's the veteransconnection.org is one. That's number one. Then number two, I would say,
does it have the Veterans Connection?
theveteransconnection.org. THEVETERANS connection.org. And that's a super passion project of mine. And then lastly is get involved with the Go Giver program and learn about it, read the book, come join the Go Giver Success Alliance, join us on Wednesdays and be around amazing people like Lisa and really get a part of the movement that's happening to go teach other people what it means to be a go-giver, that it's actually the keys to success. If you're looking for success in your life, if you're looking for abundance, it's about giving. And the receiving will naturally come as long as you don't block it, because we can block it by saying, oh no, I don't want, you keep that. But it's like, no, bring it on, I've given, I will welcome and receive.
Right? I used to be like that with compliments. Oh, I was so bad. And Nikki Kehoho fixed me of that. Yeah. But when someone said, I liked your shirt, I would say, oh God, this thing, I paid $1 for it now. Instead of just, she said, go, thank you. And just shut up. Yeah. And it was so easy. It was good advice, but I just couldn't make myself do it for so long.
Yeah.
So David, I've used up your hour. I'm so thankful. Thank you for coming on. For everybody listening, I am going to put the veteransconnection.org in the comments, and I'll in the comments on the YouTube replay. I'm also going to put it in our Monday Morning Madness group, and feel free to go in there and post. I believe I invited you. I think you are a member.
Yes.
When you have something come up that you'd like some eyes to look at or some assistance with, feel free to put it in there. And like your clubhouse thing, feel free to put it in there. We have about 6,600 members, I believe.
And there's two more things real quick. There's two more things real quick. Please. One is I've worked over the last year to help a woman. We're all dealing with grief. We all deal with grief in our lives. And over the last year, I've helped a woman named Esha Astar. It's eshaastar.com, ESHAESTAR.com. And she is building a web and mobile app platform with a whole resource center for anything and everything to do with grief, from the loss of a spouse to someone is dying that and they're have a terminal illness or whatever it is, or just general grief, and it's debilitating us, keeping us from living the life we want to live, to just how do I learn how to do self-care? Or I'm not feeling spiritually connected. How do I really get spiritually connected in ways? She has 5 pathways to freedom that are on her website. And that is, I'm really passionate about that. And tonight we have the first, from 7 p.m. Eastern time to 8 p.m. Eastern time, we have the first Sacred Grief Circle on Clubhouse and on Zoom. And that will be every week, every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's free. There's nothing there. And there's even free downloads that you can get, so that if you or a loved one is really grieving, there's those resources. And then last is the Idea to Impact that we do on Wednesdays. Just come and join and listen and learn. And we'd love to have anyone and everyone. And so, yeah.
Yeah, Clubhouse is a whole new world, right? We're doing that. That's awful. Awesome. Why did I say awful? Oh my God, those are not interchangeable. I keep thinking about Yappy. I'm so sorry that interrupted our time, but if you look at some of the replays, he's a regular part of the chaos of.
That's so fun. It brings the color and the life to it all. So.
Oh, poor Yappy. Oh. Anyway, oh, I didn't, and the last question I always ask is, I already told you ahead that I'm going to send you a special card, and I need to know the gift. Do you prefer brownies, cookies, or sea salt caramels? What is your favorite?
Sea salt caramels. That would be,
Oh, that's my new favorite. Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna like them. I don't know if you
Thank you.
know, I use send out cards.
You, you do what?
Send out cards. I don't know
Oh,
if you've heard of
wonderful.
them.
Yeah.
I've actually been using that system for about 12 years. I've sent over 70,000 cards.
Wow.
I'm
Send out
addicted.
cards. I'm taking notes on that one.
Well, wait till you get the one for me. They are awesome. And it's a great way to add value to a person's day, by the way, because when you pull a picture off of Facebook and just send them a card with their picture on it, people tend to love that. So,
I love that. That is awesome. So how may I serve y'all's community?
you did already. The information that you gave us and the fact that you're from an entirely different industry and you're speaking our language, that's the gift that you gave us today.
Mm.
So I'm very happy that you came on. I don't think by and large people realize that you can get the most information for your business from other businesses. And it doesn't matter if they're in your industry even, because you're in a total different industry with a total different dynamic, because you mostly deal with men. I
Yeah,
mostly
no,
deal with women, and it doesn't really matter. The principles of the go-giver, for example, are universal. So, and the principles of doing good business are universal. And I
yeah.
think that being able to get ideas anywhere is part of the mission I'm on, because you'd be surprised how many people will only look to their own company for their training and not go anywhere else. So I don't know if you know, I have my minivan has a car wrap on it with big giant lipsticks and everything. And I did that because I saw Coca-Cola had one. And I
Nice.
thought, well, how can I do that? Maybe smaller or different or whatever. And I got an award from my company for doing it. It was a big news. I was on a magazine cover.
Wow.
That wasn't a new idea. It
Yeah.
just was new in my little sector. And that can be true about lots of ideas if we just look to what everybody's doing instead of thinking, because in my company, people just think it's door knocking. And I'm an introvert, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
There was no way that I would door knock. So I had to look somewhere else to find my inspiration. But I think it's so important for someone like you to come on in a whole different sector and say, look, this is what we're doing. And sure enough, it is the same. How we all do business is the same.
Love it.
Okay.
Such an honor to be here with you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. And I will stop the recording. This is going to go on the YouTube channel, so I'll upload it if they're working today. Maybe
Okay.
when we get off, Facebook will be running again.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.